Alright fam, so I wasn't originally going to do this video because it's really late and I figured that nobody would want to watch it, but I know that at least one person wants it, so why not? This is my top 10 books of 2019. Now, 2019 was a good reading year for me. I read a lot of books that I really enjoyed. So what I did is I went on Goodreads and I checked my favorite shelf, and then I picked out 9 books from that shelf. And then the 10th book, I was torn between 2 books, because one book I didn't put on my favorite shelf, but I still really wanted to talk about it. And the other book was on my favorite shelf. So I was like, obviously I should pick that one. But I ended up going with the one that wasn't on my favorite shelf because I wanted to talk about it. And actually, I'm not doing these in a ranking because I honestly don't know what the ranking is. So I'm doing these in the order that I read them. The first one is the one that didn't appear on my Goodreads favorite shelf, and that is The Past and Other Things That Should Stay Buried by Sean David Hutchinson. I read this in February. Wow, what a long time ago. Almost a year ago. I'm not going to give you a true synopsis because that would just take way too long. So I'm just going to tell you that it involves zombies and a male-female friendship, which is fantastic, and the book is out of the shot, but you know what? It's fantastic. And the cover. Honestly, I don't buy books for the cover, but this is kind of a cover buy, to be honest. Just love the cover, and I love the significance it plays in the book. It's fantastic. Next, in June, I believe, I read I Wish You All the Best. And this book, man, this book is so good, y'all. It has, it features a non-binary character. Their name is Ben. They are fantastic, and I would die for them. And it also features, dealing with depression and anxiety. And it also features dealing with toxic family members. And it's just great. And yeah, the non-binary representation in this is lit because it's own voices. So you should go check it out. Next, I don't remember what month I read this in, but it's How to Be a Normal Person, by T.J. Klune. I Wish You All the Best is by Mason Deaver, by the way. Keep forgetting to tell you guys author names. But anyway, How to Be a Normal Person has an asexual character in it. You will find that if you have an asexual character in your book, it probably ended up on my favorites list. The only exception to this rule is actually Not Your Backup. Not Your Backup didn't land on this list solely because I wanted to talk about a lot of other books, and I feel like you guys have heard me talk about the Sidekick Squad a lot, so I wanted to talk about some other books that maybe I haven't mentioned as much. So yeah, Not Your Backup didn't end up on the list, but that's not because I didn't love Not Your Backup, because I did. I just didn't love it as much as Not Your Villain. And I talk about the Sidekick Squad series a lot, so I wanted to talk about some other books. Anyway, How to Be a Normal Person features an asexual main love interest, essentially. And the main character, the person who's his perspective, because I think this is told in third person, but it still has our main character Gus. His name is Gus because I just looked in the book to make sure it was third person. Anyway, Gus is trying to figure out if he wants to be a normal person, how to act like a normal person, so he can get Casey, the asexual main love interest, to fall in love with him. And it's really cute, and it's really funny, and there's weed on the cover because Casey is a pothead. There you go. I love how I said I'm not doing synopsises, but I don't know what else to tell you about them besides the fact that I really like them. But anyway, I digress. Next, I read I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. Woo! Alice Oseman is fantastic. I was going to put Radio Silence on this list. Radio Silence is the other book that was on my favorites list. But then I was like, no, I really do want to talk about The Past and Other Things That Should Stay Buried. And so I left Radio Silence off. But Radio Silence is also excellent. I Was Born for This is even more excellent. It deals with, the love of fandom really well. And it's just fantastic. And if you haven't read any of Alice Oseman's works, well, obviously there's Heartstopper. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I think out of her books, this is the best one. So if you want to start with a book, this is the best one to start with because it's her best book. And then Radio Silence is also very good. Next is Upside Down by N.R. Walker. Don't read the author's note in this book. It's very strange. But the book itself is the asexual, romance of my dreams. So, it's about these two guys. One is like, oh, I'm totally gay. That's it. And then he finds out that he's asexual. And he's like, oh shit, now I have another label. And then this other guy is like, he runs a support group for asexual people. And that's where they meet. And it's really cute. And you should definitely read it. Because, somehow, I don't know how, because the author's note is very strange, but somehow the author managed to, get these asexual characters, down, and, they feel real. I mean, obviously, I don't feel like its own voices, but, she did a really good job for somebody who's not asexual. And it's just kind of strange, because, the author's note would lead you to believe that she doesn't care about that. But she does, because it's obvious in the writing. So, read the book, ignore the author's note, and you'll be Gucci. Next, from the library. I read this book from the library, but then I got it for Christmas because I put it on my wish list and somebody bought it for me. And that's The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Okay, so, I'm not gonna lie, I love this book a lot. I read it in, 2 days, and the paperback copy is 501 pages. I'm not quite sure how much the hardback copy was, but I do distinctly remember reading 400 pages in one day, and it was this book, because this book was just that good, and it never slows down. It's a romp through Europe, and it never slows down and gets boring. It's just you're always entertained, and it's just so good. And it made me want to read some of Mackenzie Lee's other writing, which is why I picked up the Loki book. And I really enjoyed the Loki book, but it didn't make it on the list. Next, oh my god, y'all, it's my favorite graphic novel series. It's Heartstopper. Specifically Heartstopper Volume 2. I read both volumes this year, but I picked out Heartstopper Volume 2 as my favorite because it is amazing and pure and just everything you could want. It's so good. And I can't wait for Volume 3. Volume 3 comes out next month, and I ordered a signed and doodled edition, so it's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait. Anyway, Heartstopper is just, it's so good. And if you haven't read Heartstopper, what are you doing? You don't even have to buy the books. You can literally download an app. You can download either Webtoon, you can download Tapas, or I think it might even be on Tumblr. And you can just read it. You can just read it for free, y'all. So stop sleeping on Heartstopper, if you are. It's fairly popular, so I don't think a lot of people are. But if you are sleeping on Heartstopper, stop and go read it, because it's free. And then if you like it enough, you can buy the hardcovers. Next, I read probably the hardest hitting book of the year for me, and that is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. So this was actually it was my third Sean David Hutchinson book, because I also read At the Edge of the Universe. And I see why people say this is his best book, because it really gets you, man. And I read this, and when I was having a not so great depression episode, essentially. And so I was always like, yeah, I totally agree. You shouldn't press the button. Like, totally understand that. Yep, you know, I get it. And then, so, you know, there was that. I was like, that's probably not, you know, the best mindset to have. By the end of this book, it kind of did help me get out of that, like, depression episode. It helped a little bit by the end. But, like, before the end, I feel like it kind of made it a little worse. Just because, like, I identified with the character way too much. You are not supposed to identify with the character that much. You're supposed to be like, no, you should totally save the world. But yeah. So anyway, this book is just real good. And if you aren't triggered by the triggers I will put in the description below, there you go. Seamless transition into that. If you aren't triggered by those things, I highly recommend you read it because it is very good. Next, the penultimate on this list. That doesn't mean that it's the second best. It's just the second to last book that I read. And that is Tarnished Are the Stars. I absolutely love this book. I read it in 2 days for the Queer Lit Readathon. And it is just, it's fantastic. It has everything that I could ever want in a book, honestly. It has, like, a Aro ace boy that I would die for. It has 2 female characters that I would die for. It has some sapphic relationship stuff. It has kind of enemies to lovers. It has just everything, y'all. It's a steampunk world, and it's just fantastic. And I definitely think more people should read it, because it's really good. The last one actually took me several weeks to read, and that is Like a Love Story. So, Like a Love Story is historical fiction. It's set during the AIDS crisis. And it's just, it was a little slow going at first, which is why I think it took me so long to get into it, but, like, it got going, and then I really enjoyed it. Like, it was just so good, and once you get past the little bit of boring stuff, that's not really boring stuff, it's just, like, exposition stuff that you need to know before you go and read the rest of the book, or the rest of the book is not gonna make any sense because you won't know the characters that well. But anyway, once you get past that, it's just, oh, it's so good. And you're like, why'd you put it on the list if there's some boring stuff in it? Because, y'all, the other part of the book is so fucking good. And, like, the boring stuff, I mean, is only probably, like, 50 pages. Honestly. If that. But yeah, it's fucking lit. And I know I'm only holding it so you can see the title. There's our 3 main characters. They're fantastic. I would also die for them. And those are my top 10 books of 2019. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.